Hi, I'm John Richardson Love, Director of Mental Health here at Child Savers. Wanted to talk to you for a minute today about how we as parents, as caregivers, and even teachers can set effective limits for the kids that we care for. Limit setting is really important because limit setting is the bumpers, like when you're bowling and it keeps you from going into the gutter. It's important for kids to be able to test those limits, to experience those limits, but also important for them to understand where those limits are. So in order to have effective limits, they need to be clear, consistent, and visible. Let's talk about that for a minute. Clear limits. Kids need to be able to know without ambiguity. They need to be able to know what those limits are. Oftentimes, for clarity, families will talk about what those limits are. We'll make sure that they're understood. We'll even post them on the refrigerator. Before going into the grocery store, maybe you want to make sure those limits are clear. What are my expectations for my child when we go in the grocery store? That you stay near me, or can they go an aisle away? Are they allowed to push the cart? Are they not allowed to push the cart? What are my expectations? We can review those before we even get out of the car and go into the grocery store, and then I'm setting my kid up for success. Consistent. Consistency is important, and consistency is different than being rigid. But consistency means that my kid knows what the patterns are, knows how we're going to transition, knows what the expectations are, and it doesn't change wildly day to day or circumstance to circumstance. That we need to be able to let those grow as our children grow and experiment and experience things and learn skills, build skills, and that are developmentally appropriate. But we need to be consistent with those limits. And consistency is not only me as a parent consistent with my child, but also the people who are also involved in my parenting roles, in other parenting roles with my child, that we're all consistent to some extent with our child, that we don't have vastly different expectations for our child, because kids have a hard time understanding that. Third element is that expectations are visible. Those limits are visible. Kids need to be able to see them, need to be able to know that they're there. And we as parents need to be able to hold ourselves accountable for being consistent and making them visible so that kids know what those expectations are. And when we as parents set appropriate limits and expectations, when they're clear, consistent, and visible, then our kids are much more likely to build those skills so that we don't have to be there to set those limits for them because they have those internal limits set. They're able to learn the rules and learn the expectations, build the skills, because we as parents are always focused on being teachers, on building those skills so that our kids can grow up to be happy, successful, and safe.